Hello, welcome to Steel and Wood. So we're trying to get our fire going here. We're going to make some dinner. Thinking about some luau burgers. So I'm just, we bought some wood here, already pre-cut, because we're at a cabin, we can't cut our own wood. And I'm just batoning it, make it a little smaller so we can get a fire started for me doing it the first time with a ferro rod. So making these smaller sticks out of these big logs, and hopefully with some paper as tinder we can get this going. And right now I'm using the Ontario Rat 5 blade. Seems to be doing a great job. Alright, so I've got my ferro rod here. It is a 6-inch Uberleben. And let's see if we can use this paper tinder to get our fire going. There it is. We had one going. It's a little harder than it looks. Looks like paper, not really the best thing. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. First time ever doing that with a ferro rod. Finally got it going. Okay, so a couple of things with our fire start. One, we had a wet ground, and two, that paper didn't really want to catch that well, so it caught, but it just burned the paper itself. And since we can't gather anything in the woods here, we didn't really have any smaller sticks than this. So we decided, since it just burnt out, we'll just go ahead and use a fire start. But we did get it lit, so that's a success. It's a first for me. So now we'll wait for our smaller sticks here to get caught, and then we'll put on our bigger logs. Alright, so after some difficulties, I see why a lot of the experienced campers and survivalists tell you to, if you have wet ground, you put logs on the ground, then put your tinder and wood on top of those logs to burn, because as soon as we put some of this wood on the ground and tried to light it, it just wanted to go out because I think it just sucked up the moisture so easily. But now we've got a good fire going, and once this is burned down to coals, we will look at making some luau burgers, pork burgers with pineapple and some other jalapeno, some other stuff on it. Got my trusty lantern burning over there, and we'll see you in a bit. Oh yeah, we got a roaring fire going now. Won't be too long till that's burned down into coals, and we'll get dinner started. So let's talk a little bit about what I decided to carry on this trip. You remember I decided to carry a 12 gauge shotgun Mossberg 590A1 Mariner, and that is inside the house. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have it out here while I was having a campfire or whatever. We have seen some wildlife. We saw we had about 8 to 10 deer come into the driveway here right in the front, and they were foraging for things. We saw a red-headed woodpecker. That was really cool. Haven't seen one of those since I was in Virginia Beach. But as far as handguns that I'm carrying right now while we're waiting for these logs to burn down, like I said, in my 1791 paddle holster, I am carrying the Smith & Wesson 686 4-inch barrel 357 Magnum. Now right now I have it loaded with Freedom munitions, 125 grain jacketed hollow point 357. But I also have my speed loader carrier from Triple K on my belt. One of those has a speed loader loaded with the same ammunition, the Freedom munitions hollow points that are in my Smith & Wesson revolver right now, and the other, first one I'll go to, is a speed loader with Norma ammunition, 158 grain 357 Magnum full metal jacket. Now this is my bear medicine load. So like I say, I plan for what's most probable as far as a defensive situation, which in this particular area is a two-legged critter, but if I happen to run into a four-legged critter that I need to defend myself or my wife from, I have that bear medicine right here on my side. And we're just sitting here enjoying the fire. It's getting lower down into coals, so we'll be bringing the cast iron pan out pretty soon. We've got a field skillet that we'll be cooking on tonight, and I was actually surprised about the Ontario Rat 5. As many of you may know, the Rat 5 is made out of I believe a 1095 high carbon steel, which is a steel, it's a regular steel, it's not a stainless steel, which means it can rust and you need to keep it oiled. But the way that a lot of these companies like K-Bar and that sort of thing, the way they take care of that is they have a black coating on the blade, which is the case with this Ontario Rat 5. And I was kind of surprised. This is my first time really hard using this knife, or hard using. I just batoned through some wood with it to make those smaller sticks that you saw earlier. And on the back side, on the spine of the blade, as a matter of fact, let me grab it. On the back side of the blade, right here, you see there's a shiny spot where the coating has come off. On the other side of the blade, there's 2 more shiny spots. So I don't know if this coating is not really adhered well to the blade, or what the deal is. I mean, this is supposed to be like a tough coating, and just from batoning, it was 1 split piece of wood, so basically a quarter of a log, and I batoned it into maybe 8 or 10 pieces of smaller wood, and I have this chipping of the coating here. So the blade is still fine. It still feels sharp. It's not, the edge itself is still sharp, but this coating is not really seeming to hold up well. So I guess if you carry one of these, the Rat 3, Rat 5, Rat 7 series of knives, for a survival situation, you better carry a little bottle of oil with you, because it seems like this coating doesn't really stand up to, I guess I would say, actual use, outdoor use. But other than that, it went through the wood very well. It wasn't difficult. Like I said, the blade itself was great. I cut open the bags for the firewood, and it sliced right through them, even after batoning. That didn't affect it at all. But it's just this coating that I was hoping would help protect the blade. I've got a couple of K-Bar fighting knives, the 7-inch, standard military fighting knife. And I'm going to test those out, or at least one of them, as far as wood processing goes. But it has that black coating on it as well, and I wonder if that is any better or worse or whatever. But it just kind of shocked me that coating came off so easily on here, because you have that coating on there to protect your knife from corrosion, and if you just from the humidity in the air can rust a steel blade. You don't have to fall in a river or something like that. It's just the humidity in the air. So we'll see how the K-Bar does. But yeah, kind of surprising. But overall, the knife did well. I was just surprised about the coating. So I'll be back with the video when we are down to coals and we're ready to cook our Hawaiian burgers. So we're almost down to coals here, but I wanted to add something. We said that we were going to go fishing and make some fishing videos and everything, and we tried today. We drove around I believe it's Lake Carson or Carson Lake, something like that, in North Georgia mountains. And we didn't bring our boat, so because they said it was going to storm all day today, and it did rain, but we say, you know what, it's going to storm all day, the thunderstorm, everything else. So I mean, we'll bring the fishing rods and everything, but let's not bring the boat. Well, come to find out, as we've gone through today, it rained for about an hour and that was it. So we didn't get a chance to go fishing or anything. We went out, we tried to find some places and everything, but it seemed like as soon as we went out and went to some of these boat landings and everything, because there's no piers out into the lake or docks or anything, but as soon as we went out, try to find some good places, it started pouring. So we came back to the cabin and watched a movie, and halfway through the movie the rain had stopped, and by then it was, I don't know, 5 o'clock, something like that in the afternoon. Say, you know what, we'll go fishing maybe next weekend, test out our new raft, and see how it goes. But we didn't get a chance to do that just because of the weather, or what they said the weather was going to be, and everything. It's just been a nice place to stay, relaxing. When you live in a place where you hear sirens constantly, you're, I don't know, half a mile from a fire station and EMS dispatch, and another in the other direction, a half a mile from a police station and a large county jail. All you hear at night is sirens. And I mean, all I hear right now is an owl. Oh, it's lovely.
Hello, this is Steel and Wood's wife. I am cooking these luau burgers. We have some fresh pineapple cut up, some cilantro, some red onion, some jalapeños. We have the soy sauce packets because we're not at our home, and the stir-in garlic paste. So I'm about to assemble these burgers, and I'm going to take the pineapple and the onion and cook it in a pan to help caramelize it and take some of that strong onion flavor out of it. Okay, so I have some avocado oil. This is just your basic Kroger avocado oil that we pick up at the store. We usually use olive oil, but since we're trying to not have too much stuff with us, this is an electric stove, which usually we don't use an electric stove because we have gas at home, but this is what we're using, and I'm going to heat this oil up, and I'm going to brown the onions. There's a little bit of water on the pan because I just washed it since it isn't ours. So I'm going to get this hot and brown up all the onions and pineapple. We'll probably have leftovers to take with us, but that's fine. So that's where we're starting now. Alright, so here we have, we're gonna have to clean the stove, but we have the red onions and the pineapple. We put some of this butcher salt. It's from Pine Street, our local awesome butcher shop that we have in Avondale Estates near our house. And I put a little bit of your basic Publix pure ground black pepper. You can get that anywhere, any grocery store. We're just trying to get a little bit of caramelization going on, and after this we're going to mix up the burgers because we're going to put them in our cast iron pan over the fire. So it should turn out great, but we're just trying to pace ourselves with how we prep everything, because if anyone cooks on this channel, you have to balance everything. You have to make sure everything comes ready at the same time. So that's one of the things that you have to pay attention to when you're cooking, because if you don't, things will be ready way too earlier than you expect them to be. So just make sure when you're making a recipe like this, prep the things that need to be cooked first before you prep the meat, because usually the meat is the last thing that needs to be done, and you need to let it rest, because you don't want to have meat that's completely dried out. You want to make sure it has enough time to rest. Burgers, not so much, but things like steaks and stuff, you should make sure they rest for 10 minutes. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, so this video is going to be slightly out of order, but we have jalapeno, cilantro. We also are going to put, I think, a couple teaspoons of garlic. We can put the actual amounts in the comments, but we're going to put those into the burgers, and you just mix it in. Don't overmix the meat, because if you do it too much, it'll make it tough and it won't cook well. So just, you know, mix it in enough that it's distributed evenly, but don't play with it. It won't help you. Okay, so this is roughly like a tablespoon and a half of cilantro. We're not super crazy about cilantro. It called for 2 tablespoons, but that's kind of to our taste, so you can use whatever you want to use.
To 1 pound of pork.
Yes, 1 pound of pork, ground pork, and you can use the cheapest ground pork wherever. It's gonna turn out the same. Then we have some jalapenos. This is our addition. It's probably like a quarter of a jalapeno, fresh jalapeno chopped up. Finely diced, because you don't want anyone to bite into it and have, you know, a big old chunk. That's not pleasant for anybody. Yeah, and we use a garlic stir-in paste. It's super convenient and easy, and it tastes great.
How much?
About 2 teaspoons, so just, you know, like the size of your pinky, twice. Good, enough. And then put the soy sauce in there too. So this is your like lazy camping hack, even though we're not really camping. I always collect these Chinese food packets. We use like pretty much one of those is 1 tablespoon-ish. So we'll use 2 of those, and then he'll mix it in. And these burgers are great. Even people who don't like pineapple or pork that much love these. So you don't overmix them, but you just mix them enough to get everything in there, and then you just make patties. Make sure you don't make them too thick, because if you do, it'll be like a hockey puck. You can even press your thumb in the middle if you want to try to make sure they don't get too thick, but I usually just make them, you know, maybe a quarter of an inch thick, but I don't overcook them. So please don't overcook pork, because that will ruin everything. Yeah, see, so everything is evenly distributed. So we're going to make them into patties next.
Also, we forgot to say to add honey into the mix. So we're just remixing these patties. Alright, so now we're going to add these pork patties to our cast iron pan, our field skillet that we have preheated over the coals for a couple minutes. Let those cook for a bit. Alright, it's been a couple minutes now, and we've flipped them over. You want to make sure that this pork is cooked to 145 Fahrenheit, and then it should be good to go. Alright, now that we've had these cooking a couple minutes each side, take these off. Don't want to overcook pork or it gets dry. On a clean plate here, place your cooked burgers, and we've got one more to cook. Alright, next step is to grab the buns you're going to be using and toast them up. Whether you use a toaster or a cast iron pan, either way will work. And here is the finished product. We've got our pork burger with our onions and pineapple and mayo on it, and we've got a side salad. So that's how you make our Hawaiian burger. Thanks.